A suspected Chinese spy balloon has been flying over the United States. According to U.S. defense officials, the balloon floated into the U.S. airspace a couple of days ago, but American intelligence has been tracking it well before that. The balloon is believed to have flown over northwest United States, where there are sensitive air bases and nuclear missiles in underground silos. Fighter jets were flown to examine the balloon while it was flying above Montana. As per the Pentagon, the balloon is currently traveling at an altitude well above commercial air traffic and does not pose any military or physical threat to people on the ground. Spy balloons were first used back in the 1860s. What exactly are these spy balloons and why are they used far more than satellites are for espionage purposes? It typically involves a camera suspended beneath a balloon that floats above a given area thanks to wind currents. The equipment attached to the balloons could even include radar and solar power. Balloons typically operate at 24,000 to 37,000 meters. That is well above the commercial airlines, which almost never fly more than 12,000 meters in altitude. So why are they used instead of satellites? While they don't offer the same level of surveillance as satellites do, they are easier to retrieve, they are much cheaper to launch. The balloons can also scan more territory from a lower altitude and spend more time over a given area because they move far more slowly than satellites do. One of the most notable examples of spy balloon usage was by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The Soviets attached cameras to spy balloons to keep tabs on Western military activities and installations. This led to countermeasures by the West, including efforts to shoot down these balloons or disrupt their signals. In 2010, the United States military detected a high-altitude balloon which was equipped with cameras and other surveillance equipment near its base in Okinawa in Japan. It is believed that the balloon was launched by the Chinese military and it was being used for espionage purposes. And then again in 2014, a Chinese military unit reportedly launched a high-altitude balloon near the Pacific island of Guam. The incident sparked tensions between Washington and Beijing. It also raised concerns about Chinese military activities close to U.S. military bases. Now, China has said that the balloon was a civilian airship that was used for research that blew off course. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has insisted that China will not violate any international law.
中国是负责任的国家，一贯严格遵守国际法，无意侵犯任何主权国家的领土和领空。关于这个气球的问题，刚刚我已经讲了，我们正在了解核实情况，希望双方能够共同冷静谨慎处理。
And we're getting breaking news in this regard. According to Bloomberg News, the Biden administration has decided to postpone Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's upcoming visit to Beijing. This is after the Chinese surveillance balloon was detected over Montana. Sanjay Suri has more details on this. Sanjay, this would arguably be the first time that a balloon has curtailed a diplomatic visit.
Rather odd happenings in the sky above the United States, of course. And as you say, the Chinese have said that this was a meteorological data gathering balloon that somehow blew off course. The question is, how will we ever know? Are the Chinese waiting for the winds to blow it back over China, for then China to retrieve it onto the ground and collect data about the weather? Or is it the US suspicions that are right? And that suspicion, of course, primarily is that this is a spy balloon. This is not a small balloon. We are told it's the size of about 3 buses. It certainly carries a lot of data on board. But in this current spat between China and the US over exactly what kind of balloon this is, it's hard to see how we will get to a final determination what's going to happen to it. Of course, there are demands to shoot it down, led predictably by Donald Trump, rather fond of shorthand and dramatic measures. But unless that happens, unless we come to some sort of a conclusion, and that question really is uncertain. It is, in fact, if you like, a question that is up in the air.
All right, it literally is up in the air. Sanjay, thanks for that. Let me go across also to CNN correspondent Alex Marquardt, who's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Alex, first things first, reports, including this one that I cited a moment ago from Bloomberg News, suggesting that the Biden administration has decided to postpone Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's upcoming visit to Beijing. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, we have now confirmed this. CNN is reporting that Blinken is postponing his trip to Beijing that was due to take place next week. This was just confirmed by State Department officials just moments ago. We had a briefing call with them. They said that this Chinese balloon that is now over American airspace is a clear violation of American sovereignty, and that it would not be constructive at this time to go forward with this meeting. This meeting due to take place in just a couple of days. Secretary Blinken was due to leave very soon in order to get to Beijing. This was going to be the highest level meeting of a Biden administration official in China since President Biden came into office, following President Biden's meeting with Xi Jinping at the G20 in Bali back in November. Now this meeting is off, but they are saying it is postponed. It has not been canceled. They do plan to put this meeting back on the table, reschedule it when the conditions are right. But when asked by CNN what those conditions would look like, they were not very specific. The Pentagon has said very clearly that this is not the first time that Chinese surveillance and intelligence balloons have flown over the United States. What's different in this case is that it appears to be loitering for a longer period of time, but more importantly, that this is happening, as the State Department has said, on the eve of this very important trip by Secretary Blinken to Beijing. So the fact that this is happening right now raised questions immediately as to whether Secretary Blinken would actually go, and now we know that that trip has been postponed. We know that urgent and angry messages have been sent to Beijing, both through the highest-ranking Chinese officials here at the embassy in Washington and through the U.S. Embassy in Beijing.
And Alex, what are the options before U.S. officials at this point of time vis-a-vis this balloon? Is shooting down the balloon one of those options? Already we're seeing former President Donald Trump saying shoot the balloon down, and I'm sure so are many other Republican supporters of his.
Yeah, we are hearing a lot of people saying that they wish that was the course of action that President Biden was taking. I've spoken with fighter jet pilots who would tell you that it's very simple to shoot this thing down. President Biden did get a briefing in which he asked for military options. He was told by top military officials that it was not a good idea to shoot this balloon down because of the potential damage that could be done to people and property on the ground. The Pentagon believes this is not currently a threat to the American population, to Homeland Security, and they say that they have taken steps to limit the surveillance and intelligence gathering capabilities of this balloon. Now, as you've seen, this balloon has floated over Montana, which is quite sparsely populated. And so we've heard some people, including several Republicans, saying, why not just shoot it down where there is barely anyone out there? But the administration is arguing that for the potential of that damage of a falling craft, while right now they say it is not posing any danger, but it is just remarkable to think that right now, as we speak, there is this Chinese spy balloon, according to the Pentagon, floating over American airspace.
All right, Alex Marquardt, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for joining us live from Washington, D.C. for us.